All right, thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Game Changers podcast. My name is Fred Diamond. Of course, I'm the founder of the Institute for Effective Professional Selling, the IEPS. We used to be known as the Institute for Excellence in Sales. Thank you very much for listening to today's show. We still transcribe every Sales Game Changers podcast episode we've ever done. Go to salesgamechangerspodcast.com. And today, go to salesgamechangerspodcast.com/Terry Lowe, TerryLoe. This is an office hours Sales Profs Unplugged show. Terry, this is a new show that we launched. We did a couple of interviews, and then we met you. We went to your conference. We went to the National Collegiate Sales Competition, which you founded in 1999. We're going to be talking about that. Met a lot of professors. Your world is our world at the Institute for Effective Professional Selling. You train kids to get into jobs in B2B sales. I went to your competition. We were so blown away by how professional these kids were. And we'll talk about that in detail. So I want to welcome you to the Sales Game Changers podcast, our office hours, Sales Profs Unplugged, and you're retiring. As a matter of fact, this show will be posting in May of 2025. And if people are listening to the show after June, you will have been retired. So I'm excited to talk to you about what you've been teaching for the last however many years and things that you've learned, some passing remarks that you want to pass on to everybody who's listening. So first of all, congratulations on the successful career and on retiring.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate it. And I appreciate anybody who is getting the word out, especially about university sales education. We've been fighting for years to gain recognition in the academic community. Most of the schools, most of the professors I've worked with over the last 30 plus years, we have constantly made the case that sales is a great profession. It's a credible profession and one that belongs on a university campus. So it's been a little bit of a long trek. We've made a lot of headway, and I'm excited about sharing some of that with you as you wish.
Well, again, the kids, so you had about 70 universities competing at the National Collegiate Sales Competition. And I actually was honored to be a judge for some of the presentations. And for people listening, the kids did like a 20-minute role play. Gartner was your big sponsor. So they were selling Gartner services to a buyer. And I tell you, man, even the kid who I ranked the lowest was great. And these kids were professional, and these kids were thoughtful, and they were empathetic, and they didn't pause, and they also gave the customer time to speak. And I know there were things that were being measured, but it was truly a remarkable environment. My partner Gina Stracuzzi, who runs our Women in Sales program, and I went down to Kennesaw State, and we were just loved the environment. And any B2B employer who was there watching these kids, interfacing with these kids, they were all professional. They were all, well-mannered, right? They all looked the part. And that's what you need to be when you're selling, critical, important stuff to large B2B and B2G customers.
Yeah, so we've had a great partnership with industry. It's been a concerted effort on the part of the professors in academia, and probably 95% of us have been in sales. So I was in industry for about 11 years, and then I got in academia in the early 90s. In our constant, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but our agenda has been to bring on sales education, sales curriculum, and the sales profession on college universities. That competition was, I think, part of a bigger strategy to bring together all the professors. We all know each other. We've worked together in doing research. We have to publish, but also bringing. So we actually, that first competition I did in 1999, the goal was to bring the professors together, bring all the students together, so I could actually watch somebody else's student go through a sales call. But in addition to that, uh, bring in industry. So a couple of things happen with that. One, they lend credibility to what we're doing, and what we're doing in the classroom, in the curriculum, et cetera, is really what's going on in industry right now. So they come in, they not only get to see our students and evaluate, give us feedback on the curriculum and what we're teaching, but they also have an opportunity to recruit. So the professors get together and talk to each other and learn how to better teach and develop the next generation of sales leaders. But also the industry input. We have a lot of input from industries on what we're teaching. Plus, obviously, they want to recruit and hire good salespeople. Kids coming out of these programs over the years, and there's been research, they have a 30% lower turnover rate and a 50% faster ramp up time. And that's a third party research that came into that. So it's a very, very high quality pool of candidates. So getting together in the 90s, and now we've been doing this for 20, this year was the 27th time that we've conducted the NCSC. And it's just a great networking opportunity for companies, for professors, for the students who are involved. It's a lot of sharing that goes on with the curriculum. How do you teach sales? What are some of the most effective means of engaging your clientele, your leads, your prospects, and what's going to help the prospects the most. So industry's involved, the professors are involved, and all of the students obviously get to network with other students who they develop lifelong relationships with. The professors, we get to talk to each other and we get to connect with industry. So it's not just some theory that we've come up with. It's something that, obviously theory is a part of it. How does it actually work? But how's it applied in the real world? And role play is not exactly real world, but it's as close as we can get to right now. And industry has supported it, and over the last 27 plus years. And we've developed great relationships to the companies that have partnered with us.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on something you said before. So we've been saying for years at the Institute for Excellence in Sales that there aren't that many professional sales programs at universities. I like to use the stat, it may not be true, that there are 5,000 marketing degrees across the universities, and there's about 70 to 100 universities that offer a sales program, a sales major that have a Center for Professional Selling. Without going into too much detail, and we don't want to make this a political show, but give us an idea why that is. Why is, and I'll be honest with you, I liked what you were just saying because when we were watching the students do their role plays, if any company, B2B company, was there and watched, they would say, I want that kid, or yeah, I want that kid, or, and these were, as a matter of fact, I actually was a customer of Gartner Services, and some of these kids were better at showing the value than the Gartner sales reps that I've been pitched to in my careers. Why is that? Why is there a dearth of sales programs at universities?
So I have a theory, and I think over the last 30 plus years, I've gotten an idea of what academia is like, and I'll give you an anecdote. When I first did that sales competition in 1999, I was very fortunate. I had some really great companies that participated. There was only 8, but Xerox was one of them. Accenture was, Office Depot was. But the VP of North American Sales for Xerox, and his name was Bill Patterson, he came up to me about halfway through that competition. He said, Terry, I'll look at 100 resumes to find 4 to just interview. He said, over those 4, I might hire one,
Mm.
I might not. He said, I would hire half of these kids right now.
Yep.
And it's not, I'd like to think we're really brilliant and that we're teaching just brilliant stuff, but we're teaching basic sales. most of the kids coming out of universities, most people who first get into sales, they don't understand there's a process. There's
Mm.
some science behind it. How do people make purchasing decisions? Most people have no idea that it's going to be very, very hard. They're going to fail 7 or 8 times out of 10. And most people didn't plan to get into sales. So the kids coming out of these programs, we do lots of role plays. We are engaged with industry. They're a part of what we do. They're in our classrooms. They are providing input into our curriculum, which I think is a brilliant way to. I didn't invent it, but I think it's a brilliant way to teach anybody coming out of sales, regardless of the profession that you go into. Academia and I'm still after 30 something years into this, I'm still trying to figure academia out. Uh, Sales historically, although there's been a lot of research beginning back in the early 30s and 1940s, that sales was belonged in a trade school. It didn't belong in an institute of higher learning. And that's part of what we've been fighting. We've been trying to push back against is that sales is a profession.
Yeah.
All the professions out there, law, medicine, engineering, architecture, they all started as trades or as apprenticeships. But when they got on a college campus, it provided a couple of things. One, it provided a body of knowledge of the research that we do on what are the best practices, what's the most effective approaches to persuading people ethically to make decisions and doing it with the best interest of the customer in mind, as well as the salesperson and the organization. Academe has looked at it not necessarily as a redheaded stepchild, but they've looked at it as a trade school. And so for a university to accept it on a college campus, you have to have a body of knowledge, a lot of research behind it, which over the years, and again, research in sales has gone back to the 1930s, 1940s. We've developed a large body of knowledge with the theory and everything else that academia wants to look at that has provided, I think, credibility for the profession for what we're trying to do and accomplish. So academia's coming around. When I started this when I got in academia in the 1990s, there were probably only 24, 25 schools that had standalone sales classes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to correct a couple of numbers that you have there, now there's about 185 to 189 schools in the US that have standalone sales courses. There's another 14 or 15 schools in Europe, Canada. There's actually a couple in Mexico that have universities that have standalone sales classes. There's right now, we started the University Sales Center Alliance in 2003, which is sort of a byproduct from that national competition we started. We started the University Sales Center Alliance that would help other schools develop curriculum programs, degrees, minors, certificates, and sales centers on college campuses.
So let's talk about some of the
Yeah.
curriculum. Give us some of the insights into the curriculum that students go through in your program and some of these other programs. What are some of the things that you want to teach them? And curiously, who teaches them? Are they professors? Are they people who work and come to teach at night? I used to teach at University of Phoenix. I used to teach MBA classes. I was a marketing professional, so I would teach the marketing classes every once in a while. So give us some of those insights.
So, I like to tell our students when we get in there and start talking about sales and sales approaches, sales methodology, that I don't make this stuff up. You know, a lot of what we teach in our curriculum is from industry, but it is all supported by um, um, research. So it's not something somebody made up somewhere. It's something that, okay, you look at Zig Ziglar and some of the old guys who taught, who did training, and they were in the sales world. They stumbled across a lot of the that were the best approaches to it. And then we started doing research. And so the training that was done then and early on, way back, has proven to be based on the research and the empirical data that we've put together, that there are certain approaches that work better than others. So we have industry that are involved in our classes. Many of the universities have sales centers. We partner with a lot of the companies like Gardner and a lot of other companies who, they're very interested in making sure that their salespeople are effective. So what's taught in the classes is not something that's invented. It's something that's based on the research that supports the methodologies and the approaches that industry uses right now.
So you spoke a couple times about employers. Uh, it's interesting as we were talking before about academia. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but I would think that colleges and universities are now pressured to deliver value, right, to their kids, to their students, especially as parents are footing the bill and student loans get so high, et cetera. Obviously having your kid graduate and then go work at Gartner or go work at Schneider Electric or any of the companies that were there is easily managing the return on the investment, if you will. I have a daughter, by the way, who graduated from college and she went right to work at Hershey's in sales. So she's managing a rep and she texts me every day with questions and observations that she's made. Speak about the employers there. What do they look for when they're hiring a college student with a sales degree?
So I think, I shared earlier that understanding process, knowing it's not going to be easy, and wanting to go into sales. And I've worked with, the programs that we conduct here at Kennesaw State and we put on in the National Collegiate Sales Competition. I've worked with thousands of HR people and employers. One of the big things they look for is just people who want to go into sales. A lot of the pharmaceutical companies and the medical device companies, they say you have to have 3 to 5 years of experience. And the reason they want that is because they want someone who is shown can be successful in sales, but also they figured out that, okay, sales is what I'm going to do. And the kids coming into these programs, one, we've tried to present sales as the profession that provides those opportunities. That's a lifelong career. So most of it is companies who they want people who want to go into sales. But if you can start parsing and looking at the details in that, and obviously you want someone who is interested in succeeding at a high level. They have a lot of drive, and they want to make money, but they're not just self-interested. Most of the people and the kids over the last 10, 15, 20 years, they really want to make a difference. They've been taught all their lives that money is not the only thing, and that is very true. I've learned that over my career, that money is not the only thing. It's a good driving force. It's a good goal. But the biggest thing is making a difference. And then this is something I picked up from other books and research I've looked at. The most successful salespeople are the ones who are trying to make a meaningful difference in the lives of their customers. And that's something we teach our kids. And I think that's something that the companies are looking for, that, I'm not just extrinsically motivated. I'm intrinsically motivated to do what's going to be right. Obviously, I'm going to make money from it, but I also want my customers to do well economically, and all the other customers, that I want to improve their quality of life. And I think a lot of companies have figured that out, that they need people who are, one, very motivated. They're willing to, once you get knocked down, and you're going to do that in sales, you're going to fail a lot. And being able to get back up on your feet and saying, you know what, I am doing something that's worthwhile. I'm doing something that's going to impact society, etc. I'm going to impact these individual customers in a very positive way. So they
No,
want
that's
someone who's
actually,
doing that.
yeah, that's great. And actually, we talk about that a lot at the Institute for effective professional selling, in that the great sales professionals are the ones who are all about their customer mission, right? And Now it's harder than ever to engage with your customers. It's hard to get in the door. It's hard to get them to respond to you. They can get a lot of the information that they need on the internet or ChatGPT or whatever it might be. So the sales professionals who are really making a difference are the ones who are thinking about their customer down the road, right? Here's some things that, hey, Mr. Customer, I know you may or may not be thinking about this, but this may help you serve your customer better, or it may help you bring more value to what you're offering to the community. I'm just kind of curious. Uh, do the kids coming to KSU, to Kennesaw State University, who want to get into your program, what percentage of kids come to KSU knowing that they're going to get into the, or they want to go through, the Center of Excellence, or how many kids just go to Kennesaw State, they get into the school, and then they're like, gee, should I be a poli sci major or a sales major? How does that look?
Well, I would say that the majority of students that we get into our program, and we do have a sales degree, we've got about 200 students who are either sales major or sales minor. The majority of them stumble on it. I wish I could have gone back and done my career differently because I would have been much more purposeful in determining, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And I don't think that's changed a great deal. But more and more, we have seen students and parents who come to our program. They are doing research on the different schools that are out there. So we have a percentage. It's not a large percentage who are pursuing or coming to Kennesaw State because we actually have a sales degree. Part of those are, parents who are in sales or they're actually a partner of ours, and they are aware of our sales program and their children, whether they see that they have this gift of being able to communicate effectively with people, or they like people, or whatever it may be, and they think, okay, my son, my daughter, may do very well in sales, so that's how they find us. So we have a percentage. It's not a large percent, maybe 15 or 20% who are seeking us out. Most kids are still just stumbling upon us. They go by our center, or they've been involved in some kind of orientation. They talk to one of our students in the sales program. That's probably the biggest recruiting tool that we have, is they talk to students who are in the program, and our students really enjoy the program because we teach them about sales, but we also help them understand what it takes to be very effective as a leader, being effective as a communicator, but also just being effective in being able to develop relationships that's good for anything you do. It doesn't matter what career you go into.
Absolutely. All right, let's get. We talked to Dr. Terry Lowe with Kennesaw State University today on the Office Hours Sales Profs Unplugged podcasts. And Terry, again, congratulations on what you built and with the competition and at the Kennesaw State University. And best of luck to you as you embark upon your next phase of life in retirement. And look forward to continuing to go to the conferences. Before I ask you for your final action step, I'm just kind of curious. Is there anything? Any major observations that you want to share, that you want to bring to our attention now that you're moving into the retirement? Um, it's something, again, I run the Institute for Effective Professional Selling, and we believe that sales is a profession, especially at the levels where we're talking about. We service people who have made it their career to be in sales. And the things that I saw at your competition in talking to the professors and talking to as many kids as we could is the passion that they had for this profession. And sales now, it's not, what do I got to do to get you to buy this pen? You're never going to have the opportunity to do that. That's not sales. Sales is, imagine, like, again, your big sponsor, Gartner. They're helping companies make big decisions, right? about IT. They need information to help grow their business tens, if not 20, if not hundreds of millions. So the impact that sales has on the companies that are hiring them is so critical because of what they're bringing to their customers. And seeing that nonstop was just really fascinating. I'm going to ask you for an action step, one thing people should do, but I'm just kind of curious. You're in academia now. What are some brilliant observations that you could share with us as you drift on to the next part of your career?
I'm not sure if anybody's ever described me as brilliant. I've done a couple of things that have caught on because I think they're just good things to do. I think that the biggest takeaway and the thing that somebody, especially in your position, we cannot as academicians, uh, we need partnerships. We need partnerships with industry, and the more companies and the general community, because the general community wants, medicine, law, economics, architecture, they gained a lot of credibility when they got into or got onto university campuses. Uh, and when we were able to get sales curriculum, sales degrees on an academic campus or a university campus, that built a lot of credibility to our profession. So letting people know of what we're doing, letting industry know that we're doing this, we helps grow the profession itself. And I think that was our original agenda, was to partner with industry, but also to let the general community know that you can do sales and be very, very ethical, have a great professional approach to what you're doing, help people, help industries, and help companies grow their organizations, help individuals have better quality of life. Those things are really what salespeople do. And if I could quote Zig Ziglar, because this is something we actually have etched on our walls, is you can have everything you want out of life if you help enough other people get what they want out of life.
Yeah,
So spreading the word, letting people know that this is a great profession, it's an honorable profession, and it's something that anybody can feel proud about being a part of.
absolutely. All right. So as we like to wind down every Sales Game Changers podcast, give us an action step. You've given us a lot of great ideas, a lot of things people can implement. Give us a specific action step our listeners should take right now after listening to the show or reading the transcript to take their sales career to the next level.
So if you are one going to a university, if you're young, which I'm not sure of how many of your listeners are, in their teens or in high school, find a university that teaches sales. But if you're in industry, uh, academia needs the support of industry. We need to partner with industry, one for the resources, but also because we gain a lot of credibility when we have an IBM or a Gartner or a FedEx or a UPS or any of those companies that are partnered with our program that help educate our students so that they're better prepared to be good contributors to society, but also good contributors to the organization. So partnerships with these different schools around the country and being engaged with them is going to be the biggest thing that a company industry can do to help us out.
All right. Once again, I want to thank Terry Lowe for being on today's Office Hours Sales Profs Unplugged Sales Game Changers podcast. My name is Fred Diamond.